All right, our speaker today is Melanie Doerner with the North Carolina Theater. Melanie is the development director within the theater, and today, as we get started, she donated 2 tickets to Jesus Christ Superstar, which is coming up, which we are going to add to our silent auction for casino night. So just really appreciate you coming and doing that. So a little bit about Melanie. She joined the theater in 2011. She has more than 15 years of nonprofit management experience. She's a strategic thinker, a powerful advocate, and passionate fundraiser. Melanie has grown NC Theater's contribution income budget over 40% since she's come in 2011. In 2016, the company received its first transformative legacy gift of $1 million, which Melanie was a big part of. She holds an LLB from Osgoode Hall Law School and formerly practiced as a corporate attorney in her native Canada. Prior to joining the theater, Melanie worked with the Carolina Ballet and Children's Music Theater of San Jose. Without further ado, Melanie.
All right. Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here, and of course, thank you to Jason for inviting me. It's nice to see some friendly faces in the room. Monroe Wallace is a supporter for North Carolina Theater, so Bob Monroe and Chris, thanks for all the work that you do when you talk about Rotarian impact. That $1 million estate gift, these gentlemen helped advise on that, so we're grateful for the work that Rotarians are doing in the community. So North Carolina Theater, we are your professional regional theater company. And that means that only those of us who are talented enough to earn a living as a performer get to perform. So just the pros. So I earn my living as a fundraiser. And before that, I earned my living as a lawyer. So that should tell you a little bit about my musical theater abilities. So I will not be performing for you today. But thanks for letting me have the chance to sing a little earlier. Nobody lets me do that in my office. So that's good. But of course, there's a role for all of us in the theater. And for most of us, that role is the audience. And I assure you that is the case for myself. But how many of you have had a chance to see any of our big musical productions down at Raleigh Memorial Auditorium? All right, fan base, love that. So that is what we are most known for. For more than 30 years, we have been producing those great big musicals downtown at Raleigh Memorial Auditorium. So we have been producing and teaching theater since 1984. And as a professional regional theater company, we've always had a training program. And 13 years ago, we really established that into a year-round conservatory in North Raleigh. So we are actually on Barrow Drive near Capitol, but one of our good friends is right next door to us here at North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater. So a lot of great art and training in this community. So we are most known for what we do on stage and out front. So the great big shows. But at the heart of it, what we are storytellers. So to be a storyteller, by definition, you have to have something to say. You have to have a story to tell. Now, lots of people have something to say. All the Twitter feeds and Facebook posts are really a testament to that. One could argue perhaps too many people have too much to say. But what it really means to be a storyteller is that you are able to craft your stories in such a way that people will listen. And that is what we do at North Carolina Theater. We tell a story in a way that people will listen. I mean, people listening, imagine that. I mean, how rare is that these days? And really listening. So theater is really one of the last places that people come together and turn off their cell phones and just live in that moment together. Even the dinner table is not sacred anymore, but the theater is. So what a rare opportunity is that, what an honor for North Carolina Theater to capture an audience's imagination for 2 whole hours plus intermission. So what story do we tell? Now in Hamilton the musical, George Washington and company sing, "Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?" So I cannot give a talk about musical theater without talking about Hamilton. So has anyone here had a chance to see that musical? All right, so you need to be North Carolina Theater donors, because if you can afford a ticket to Hamilton, then we need you in our audience. So of course, the musical Hamilton has taken the world by storm. I mean, teenagers are going crazy for a story about one of America's founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. I mean, just think about that for a moment. How awesome is that? That teenagers are losing their minds, quoting songs about the founding of this nation, the who's and the whys of U.S. history. So why is that? Well, first of all, because it's a great story. So I couldn't afford tickets to the show, but I had my $10 to buy the Ron Chanel biography at Target and had a chance to read the story of Alexander Hamilton. So I read the source material. And of course, it's a great story, and it's one that I thought I knew, but as I read the biography, I realized I really didn't know the story. So history is not really my thing. You heard I grew up in Canada, so that's a bit of my excuse that I studied more Canadian history than U.S. history. But, you know, I knew that Alexander Hamilton was a founding father on the $10 bill. I kind of assumed that meant he was also a president, but of course he wasn't. He was the first Secretary of the Treasury. Of course, I know that the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution are not the same thing, although there are parts of them that I confuse. But I never really knew why there was such a gap in timing of those documents. Of course, the Declaration of Independence declared the war, and then it took about 8 years for the Continental Army to defeat the British. So it was then that the U.S. Constitution was drafted and that the government was formed. So I knew the American Revolution inspired the French Revolution. I was actually a jeune fille père in France in the neighboring town de Lille, so that was funny. But what I did not know was the extent to which the French were involved in the American Revolution. The Marquis de Lafayette was a senior military officer in the American Revolution and then went on to be a key figure in the French Revolution. And of course, Hamilton was General George Washington's aide-de-camp in the Revolution. And one of their main complaints was that the First Continental Congress wasn't working. It's too caught up in politics, not responding to the needs of the people and the Continental Army. I mean, imagine that. The very first Congress was not working. I have to tell you, I took so much comfort in reading that. You know, politics today are sort of business as usual. Governing is messy, and it's an imperfect business from the very first beginning. So in Hamilton's day, political rivalries ended in a duel. I mean, Alexander Hamilton was shot and killed by his political rival, Aaron Burr, in a duel, pistols at dawn. I mean, can you imagine that? So maybe some things are better politically today. But of course, I didn't read this and think, clearly there's a hip-hop musical here. I mean, that is not why I'm not a musical genius like Lin-Manuel Miranda. But clearly there's a great story here. And like any good story, its themes are timeless and universal. But storytelling is a craft, and that's what makes it great art and great theater. So Lin-Manuel Miranda has described his musical Hamilton as the history of America then, told by America today. So in a word, he has made the story relevant. Diverse cast, hip-hop beats. You know, the people of today and the music of today combined with the classical musical theater elements. It's that combination that has brought this story to life and made it relevant to today's audience. And audiences are listening. You know, young people are repeating, I am not going to throw away my shot. I mean, that's how the kids say it today, seize the moment. So Greg Wallace gave me the great setup here for my remarks. You know, this show is instilling a sense of empowerment. You are important. You can make a difference. Young people are taking control and power over their own narrative. They are telling their own story. To quote the show, there are a million things I haven't done, but just you wait. Just you wait. That is powerful, and that is live theater. So in 1 month, this coming April, North Carolina Theater will remount Andrew Lloyd Webber's classic rock opera, Jesus Christ Superstar. So you have a chance at your silent auction to win some tickets to that. So when you speak of a powerful, timeless story, is there a more powerful story than the story of Jesus Christ? I mean, that is the show that we will be bringing to life on stage at North Carolina Theater, and this is a special show for several reasons. First of all, our director is a gentleman named Eric Woodall. He grew up in Benson, North Carolina, and he cut his theater teeth at North Carolina Theater as a young man. He went on to a performing arts degree at Carnegie Mellon University. He's now a big-time casting director in New York, and he comes back to do shows for North Carolina Theater. Did anyone have a chance to see Mary Poppins in July? Because that was a show that we did, and Eric Woodall was the director for that. So we're thrilled to have him back to direct this show for us. And so Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical, debuted in the 70s, hence the big rock score. And it tells the story of the last week of Jesus' life. So it is not the story of the divine Jesus, but rather intentionally it depicts the earthly Jesus. And this is important to know before seeing the show, because that is not the story that all audience members are looking to see and hear. And this is an artistic choice. It's the artistic choice the creators of the show wanted to tell the story of Jesus' earthly existence, his earthly needs and his desires, his pains and his fears and his sorrow. Because the show wants to make real Jesus' sacrifice and give meaning to that story. So as you know, the show ends with the crucifixion. Jesus on the cross is one of the most recognized, iconic symbols the world over. To see that in all its human dimension, after a 2-hour investment in the performance, is incredibly powerful. It transcends symbolism, and it becomes real and relevant. And we believe every generation needs to see this piece of theater. We are especially proud to have one of the most diverse casts on our stage tell this story. North Carolina Theater is your professional theater, so we host auditions locally and in New York. It won't surprise you to know that a lot of the leads come from New York. But we have all the rehearsals here. It's a very tight 10-day, 2-week rehearsal process, and then we mount the show for a week. So it's 3 weeks start to finish. And we have local performers on our stage, in the pit, all full orchestra musicians, and of course there's a symphony of activity that happens backstage with local stagehands. But on stage for this show, we've worked very hard to deliver a diverse cast so that the people on the stage reflect the people in the audience and the community at large. Relevance, making this story, making this important story that we are telling relevant to all of those who are listening. And so part of our job as your regional theater is to be the bridge from Raleigh to Broadway, not just for shows, but for talent. And if we've done our jobs right as a teaching theater over the last 30 years, we should have trained and sent some kids to Broadway. And we have, and we're very proud of that. And in fact, for the upcoming show, Jesus Christ Superstar, we will have 2 of our senior students from our year-round conservatory have a chance to perform on stage with the pros in Jesus Christ Superstar. So these are the kinds of opportunities that we can create as your local professional theater company. Aspiring young performers are getting a chance to work with the best performers and directors in the country. You know, Ariana DeBose is from Raleigh, and she was original cast member in Hamilton. She didn't happen to grow up in our program, but she's done work with us and on our stage, was in our production of Hairspray. And so young talent in this market gets to be with those kinds of artists who are the most important works in this country at the moment. So just like if we're a sports team, you know, to be the best, you have to train with the best. And so those are opportunities we're creating. And we're also giving young people a chance to be the stars themselves and to have the lead roles, for that, to give them their shot. And so we do a youth production every summer as well. And this summer the conservatory will produce Oklahoma at the A.J. Fletcher Opera Theater downtown. And there'll be a cast of about 35 students. So Hamilton may be the American musical today, but what kicked off the American Broadway musical as we know it was Oklahoma in 1943, nearly 75 years ago. So we're thrilled to do that as our summer production for the kids. You know, and it's about the stories we tell. Back in 1943, Oklahoma had only been a state for 36 years. You know, again, the show deals with universal, timeless themes of home, family, love, triumph over good and evil. These were the stories American audiences were seeking just before World War II. And these are the stories we're still seeking today. So as theater educators, Oklahoma is foundational. If Hamilton is where the musical is going, Oklahoma is where it all began. And so we want those teenagers who can sing the entire soundtrack to Hamilton to also be able to know their musical theater roots. You know, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. I won't sing it for you. They don't let me sing, but you know, they need to know those songs too. So Hamilton is the American musical of our founding fathers. Oklahoma is the story of the American frontier. Both are wholly American. The world is captivated by these great stories, the same way they are captivated by this great country. So these are great stories to tell, and North Carolina Theater is honored to be the storyteller. So that is who North Carolina Theater is on stage and out front. However, some of the most exciting work that we do is really behind the curtain and in the community. So it is the bullying prevention outreach workshop that we do called Theater for Change that we bring to 5,000 Wake County Public School students. You know, it's the economic impact of more than 50,000 audience members coming downtown every year to the Performing Arts Center to see shows. And it's about the new workforce. Employers are hiring for creativity. They need problem solvers. They need innovators. How do you teach creativity? The arts. It's the arts. It's the #1 way to teach it. So of course we love our performers, you know, just like for sports. I was a soccer kid. If one of your teammates makes it to the Olympics, you know, all of you celebrate that success, the entire community does. So not every soccer kid makes it to the Olympics, just like not every kid makes it to Broadway. But we know we're teaching them the skills for the stage of life. Broadway, or the boardroom, is what we call it. And the studio and the stage are the best classrooms. You know, we had one of our graduates from our conservatory program, Allison Bonner. She did not go to Broadway. she got a chance to sing her heart out after school every day in her conservatory program, and what she described for us is she said she currently works at STASH, she went to UNC, got her HR communications degree, works in HR and communications, and she said all the things that she needed to know about life, she learned in the studio. And she wrote a great blog for us, but what she said, there's 4 things she learned. Number 1 is teamwork, what we call in the theater, building the ensemble. I mean, not everybody's the lead, there's only a handful. What she learned was resilience, the cast list. When it gets posted, you look to see what role you got. And it's usually not the one you wanted. And so it's about getting the near win and embracing that near win and to keep doing it, because you've got to keep auditioning until you get your chance. She also said number 3 is how to receive feedback, what's known in theater as taking the note. Even on opening night, at the end of the show, the director will still give notes. You can always do better. There's always something more you can do. So constructive feedback, and take it and process it and move it forward. And then the 4th thing she said she learned was empathy, a different point of view. Looking to the world through someone else's eyes. Actors do this all the time. They have to ask questions like, what's this character's past? What might have they experienced that would make them behave a certain way? What would this character's perspective be in this situation? Not only do actors have to ask those questions, they have to make you, the audience, sympathize with them. That is an incredible exercise that we need more of today, now than ever. And one of the things that she said is she used theater training in her business world to develop cohesive teams, build relationships, and garner an appreciation for different perspectives people can bring to the table. That's leadership. That's what we're doing in North Carolina Theater, is training the next generation of leaders. So I invite you to come and see Jesus Christ Superstar in April, and I invite you to come and see Oklahoma in July, and you tell me how good a job we're doing telling these important stories and training the next generation of leaders. Thanks very much.